How we doing, everybody? Well, that was a shit show, if I may say myself. Um, I got Mark with me today. We're probably going to try to make this a quick one. He's got a little bit of cam issues, but we had a lot of issues as a team. United losing 4-3, capitulating at the end like we've done it so many different times this season, and giving up two goals. I think pretty much all the goals we gave up weren't great goals, both in terms of the way we handle it, and then also, like, for example, the two penalties being very, very low quality in terms of them being given. Um, More injuries. So I think this game was just a complete combination of everything that's going on in our season this year. And it ended bad for us. Cole Palmer was going to get talked about with his hat trick and all that. So I'm going to bring Mark in, let him have, and let's see if we can bring Mark. Hey, Mark, yeah.
Indeed. I
Hey.
apologize first and foremost, like I said, for me. The camera, I don't know what's going on. It's my brother's laptop, so I don't know what's going on this evening. But yeah, unfortunately, you had to bear witness to that. Towards the end, absolutely capitulated, typically. But it's just never over with this Man United team. It seems to be you go in towards the end, 3-2 ahead, and the lot obviously makes that challenge. You kind of knew what was coming as soon as he was past him. He just doesn't have the common sense ultimately to pull back from him. It seemed to be like Maguire was starting to cover ground, which would have given him less of a chance to shoot Madueke. Look, we can't just go on and continuously defend players either. Like the lot makes a seriously stupid decision, should I say, and then that's it. Leaves us at Cole Palmer's peril on the penalty spot, and that was the start of the demise, really. And then obviously he scored at the end as well. Um, you know, like I know everyone keeps going on about it, but I hope the season ends like quicker than what I just wish like I said, just wish I could close my eyes and wake up and be all like a bad dream, a bad nightmare, and just go into August with a couple of new players signed and just to write off the season altogether. I'm not the only Man United fan, unfortunately, who thinks that way, but it's just it's one thing after another. Liverpool obviously won tonight. I don't expect us to make European spots in the form of the Champions League, but like if Ten Hag comes out over the weekend there again after the Brentford game, say like we'll continue fighting. But it seems to be like psychologically he thinks that this squad can bear a fight, but it's just not the case. We couldn't hold in a good piss. God forgive me. Brentford the weekend, absolutely dreadful. We go one ahead, and you think that we're going to hang on in injury time, and the same thing happens again tonight. You go in, there's a couple of minutes added on, and you get turned over like that. It's very, very frustrating to watch. And I feel sorry for some of the lads playing tonight. The likes of Willie Kambal had a very good game when he come on. He obviously probably wasn't expecting to play any minutes whatsoever, considering several injuries again this evening between Varane and Johnny Evans. So there's a lot to take from the game, but yeah, it's an absolute shame. It's an absolute shame. And it actually depresses everyone. We think about we've a semi-final the FA Cup to play in 2 weeks' time, and that's literally our only hope for the season because we won't be making a European spots, like I said, in the form of the Champions League. The squad has nothing in them. People continuously go on. I know I'm off on a rant here, but people continuously go on and say, "Oh, sure, we've had X amount of injuries this year." Yeah, we understand that, but so has literally the majority of top clubs in the country who are playing so many games and being overloaded. So, like, I'm just sick of hearing that excuse. Like that doesn't give us a breeding ground to not control games and not win games when we're generally ahead. Like for instance, the past two games going into injury time and then again capitulation. So yeah, I'm sick of it. I'm just running out of excuses for this squad, really.
Yeah, well, I know you don't want to hear, but some certain like the amount of injuries in the back line, I think, is one of the biggest things. But you are right when it comes to the way we're losing, especially just mentally not being able to stay concentrated coming into the end of games and stoppage time and whatnot. That does nothing to do with injuries. That has to do with your professionalism and your concentration when you're on the pitch. I do kind of think, even though, yes, if you want to go by the law, sir, they might have been considered penalties and stuff like that, but they were kind of soft penalties. So the 2 goals, keeping them in it, were the penalties, to be honest. And then, of course, the kid got it at the end, which is annoying. And he is having one hell of a season, if we're being honest. But so we can try to talk about one positive and try to get something out of this. It should have been a game. It should have been a stream that we're talking about Garnacho having a brace. The kid I think he has a lot to improve in regards to consistency. But Mark, give me your thoughts on Garnacho today. I know it might be hard to give some positive thoughts, but he seemed, like you said, some of the younger lads had some bright games, and he was one of them. He had a brace for us today.
I thought, yeah, he had a very assured game in comparison to his performance during the night against Brentford.
Mm-hmm.
He's just going to get better, thankfully for us, unfortunately for us. I genuinely think he's shown more promise than Cristiano did at the same age. So there's one for you. I just think, just in regards to consistency, he's starting to pitch in, obviously, with serious goal tallies as well, and important goals as well. But as well as that, the limelight is going to be taken off, and considering you have an opposite number there in Cole Palmer who scored a hat-trick tonight. I'm not trying to go off on the Chelsea players in the sense of like I said, Garnacho, a bright future ahead, and I hope we can tie him down on a seriously lucrative contract to feeing off the likes of Real Madrid, if it's a case where we're to believe what the press is saying ultimately. So I'm sorry, my head is just a bit gone because obviously I just don't get it. I really don't. I don't get the fact that you have X amount of thousand United fans travelling from, between Manchester up and Ireland across and everything, and in the away end tonight, which sounded absolutely rocking, I may add, and then they're going home literally broken hearted. It's like you can't really expect much from the team at all. We go down 2-0 ahead. If you bear it into context, absolutely fantastic game for the neutral, because tonight was an absolutely crazy game. It actually defined really the seasons in contrast that both Pochettino's team squad is having and Ten Hag's.
Up and down.
Very loose, and gave away chances to beat the band. I think realistically Chelsea had over 20 chances on goal between and United similar, I think. Anyway, but yeah, it's like, it was like there was no midfield there at all at times.
It was just people going.
Literally, Mainu, I felt, unless people disagree with me, it wasn't his strongest game tonight. But as well as that, we expect so much, unfortunately, so quick off such a young lad, with the weight of the world on his shoulders, really. But I can't really take many positives other than Garnacho's performance, man the match performance. If it wasn't for Cole Palmer, like I said, in his opposite end of the opposite team, and Anthony, I thought, had a very good game tonight, and that's something that myself and the rest of the
happen often.
Exactly, it does not happen often. That ball outside of the foot, I said to myself at the time before he kicked it, I said, he's trying this, and there's no way this has ended up towards Garnacho. And then all of a sudden I was like, absolute fantastic. If that was if that's Mo Salah doing that for
losing their mind.
Exactly, what a ball. And he ran his heart out tonight. But again, there's disappointing performances. If we go in, we're not talking about it. If we go in and we're at the winning 3-2, we're not talking about it. But the likes of Rashford and all come on, and it was absolute deadly. I genuinely, the fella come on, if I'm not mistaken, the last 15, and literally walking. What is that? And his brother coming out and all today, in regards to what Rio Ferdinand said in the overlap. Everybody has the right to have an opinion on Marcus Rashford if we don't know what's going on and we expect something from such a good player and a performance. Don't be fucking putting a Man United jersey on and walking around the fucking pitch and that's been on the past 15 minutes. Sprint and close space You know,
Well, I'll actually turn that into a question too, along with a secondary player, because I saw some people in our chat, and I'm definitely sure there was some on Twitter as well, and there's have been in the last few weeks. Rashford was dropped today. Another player people are calling for is the current captain. I think both on form, and to be quite honest, I'm going to be, well, hey, name of the show is advocate, right? I'm going to be a little bit of the devil advocate and say, like, I think he also needs to be dropped in terms of his form dropping around him playing so much. I think, yes, his form is dropping for himself as well, but I think he's also being run into the ground. I don't know if anybody noticed today. I think when we were trying to play it around because we thought we were going to win, so we were knocking the ball around all relaxed, and Dalot got fouled. Bruno sat down too, just out of being tired. So like that's how bad the guy is. Between Rashford getting dropped today, Mark, and then Bruno with fans having that discussion, would you want to see that at this point of the season? And, in regards to, I don't know, Mount just came back, right? So maybe rest Bruno or sit Bruno or drop Bruno, however way you want to phrase it, and let Mount play or something like that. Is that a direction you would go with what's left in this season?
Being honest with you, I think he's undroppable, really. I wish it wasn't the case, because like that, it seems to be like he plays the majority of minutes in every single game for club and country. And I don't think by his own standards he's had a great season. And if he wasn't the first to admit that, he'd be a very ignorant man. So I think, being honest with you, he's not like I said, he's undroppable. And like everybody expects a bit more from him. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, like, how do we get to fill the gap? I know you referenced Mason Mount there, but at the same time, Mason Mount is literally only back from injury. He's only had to play in literally I think like max exactly in the past 2 games. Don't get me wrong, he done relatively well tonight when he come on. I felt obviously at the start of his considering he was back in Stamford Bridge and he was obviously getting a lot of abuse. But anyway, I'm going off topic. Bruno, it's not that I wouldn't want to see him dropped as per se in regards to, but you see the thing with Bruno as well, when like we can see it physically, you're like, oh my god, there's such an overload there, he's playing so many games, and then his performances are becoming affected due to that. That's our own personal opinion on it. However, he's never injured, so the problem is, how do you drop him?
Can you talk about that too? Because that's crazy. With all the injuries we have, and a lot of them are looking like are being said to be muscle injuries. I don't know how Bruno hasn't had more muscle injuries in the time he's been here.
Some people are just born freaks in regards to their athleticism, and he's obviously one of them, because literally generally our whole squad has been injured for one stretch of the season or the other. So, I just, it's not that I don't want that to happen. And like, I'd obviously love to see the likes of Mason Mount have some time in the squad. But again, I think the ignorance could bear down to, Eric Ten Hag as well, and say, well, we still can push on for the Champions League places. All we need to do is, Villa and Spurs. Exactly. It's like, I'm like, does the man think that he has time here? Because again, I know, like, reverted back a couple of pods ago when I said, like, I think Ineos come in and they look at the structure as a whole and say, if you're not pulling your way, your head is on the chopping block. And now, we're going to go into the game on Sunday. Like, I'm not confident whatsoever, considering obviously the injuries we've had tonight as well. You've had Varane go off. And so, like, basically, our back line on Sunday could read, obviously, Dalot, Wan-Bissaka, and your 2 centre halves being Maguire and Willie Kambale.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's scary against such an informed Liverpool squad. People can go back and say, oh, we beat them a couple of weeks ago. That's a nothing game in comparison to this Premier League game. They're bound for the title. They need to keep up with City.
They're in first place tonight with their win, so they're going to want to keep that spot.
Exactly, and they're in such good form. So yeah, I referenced before in games like that magnitude, but quietly confident. I'm not confident whatsoever. And look, I know what you'd said. Oh, yeah, but the majority of our backline have been out injured, and I get that. Don't get me wrong, but again, I'd revert on something you said. Like, that doesn't matter. We could have 11. We could have like people walking around. The likes of Rashford and all, like I said tonight. All you're expected to do is hold the lead. Like, sit in low block if you have to. Don't even bother counter attacking. Just literally get the ball up the pitch, and then the ball comes out wide to Madueke, and he runs at a tired, seemed to be a very tired Delo tonight. You know, it's just I don't know. Like I said, I'm sorry for going off topic. I'm just very bleeding.
No. Yeah, man, you're good. I'm sure if there was more, a lot of people would be a lot of people are extremely frustrated too. One thing I want to ask you too, if we and I'll get my thoughts on it as well, is are we also getting to a point, or do you think this is a seasonal thing, and maybe it can change if Ineos changes things in the back room and some of the stuff like that? I don't know if I necessarily believe. I saw some people saying it wasn't true as well about us not having a fitness coach or something like that, a trainer. Um, are some of these players starting to get put on the chopping block now? Like, for example, damn near all of our center backs, and then I know Shaw is out again, right? So that's another injury to Shaw after and all that. You think people are getting put on the chopping block for selling in the summer, partially, if not in addition to their form, but also because of their health problems and they're not being able to stay healthy? Because in all levels of sports, and obviously at the top, like the old saying is the best ability is availability. So it doesn't really matter if Shaw has a great relationship with Rashford if he's injured 40% of the time. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't help us the other 60% of. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So
I
like,
do.
do you think people are starting to get themselves put on the chopping block for health reasons as well?
I do, because if you look at this season just based on last season and the potential of progression, because that's exactly what we as a fan base and as a football club want to succeed on, was progression. There's no United fan worth or salt that went into the season and said, you know what, based on the season we had last season, we're going to be up there challenging City and Liverpool for the league, considering obviously the summer that we had with the the acquisitions we brought in. So what I'm trying to say is, I do think, like I said, what's your reference, like Luke Shaw, and like the fan base as a whole, including myself, absolutely love Luke Shaw, and he's one of the best left fullbacks still on his day in the world, like I believe. And I believe he like truly loves playing for Manchester United. But again, you want to be like what you'd reference, like you have to be available, and he's just not there. But at the same time, you can reference a few players in that caliber, and players that are on like lengthy contracts. Casemiro being one. If it's not injuries, it's suspensions. Like a lot of ex pros are referencing that his legs are gone. Tonight, that genuinely seemed evident, because he was being overrun by a young Enzo and a young Casado in the middle tonight. And I know people say, sure, we can be such a guide in life for the likes of Kobe Mainu in the middle. No, because that can be absolutely detrimental to one's career, because he's trying to do the donkey work that Casemiro unfortunately can't get through. So he's one. Tyrell Malacia was at been out for the whole year. Obviously, there's a few the stories going around in regards to him, like whether the chap is still alive, let alone anything else. I could literally go through the whole squad in regards to like injuries, etc. Bar obviously the absolutely youthful Bruno Fernandes, who doesn't seem to get injured. But as well as that, like I said, it's performance as well.
Yeah,
There's not many players in the squad that can turn around and say, "Oh, I've had a good season." Other than you obviously have Mainu, you have Garnacho, players of that caliber. Other than that, unless you can bump in there, like Delo had a relatively decent season, and he was exactly. But then this is the thing with Delo, and he gets plaudits from us as a fan base, and and they are warranted. Based on his performances the past couple of months. However, he does that tonight, and then it goes out of my mind, because I say to myself, first and foremost, you have to defend that, and he beat you. That's okay, because you tried to send him down, and he cut back in. And like I said, you had players coming into the screenshot that obviously probably wasn't shown on live television. You obviously had Kambala and obviously Maguire there. So, like, he was either going to get a shot in, or the lads are going to come across to try to block it. That's what way it looked like it was going to me. And obviously, sure, like, it was a sloppy penalty. Yeah, it's a sloppy penalty. But first and foremost, you make that decision. You make the decision to go to tackle him. Then inevitably, you're leaving yourself open for a foul. Like, it was never not going to be a penalty. He's running at pace at you, and literally a gust of wind blows you over, and that's it. A penalty's given to the other team as long as you're in range of contact, you know. So look, again, I'm going off in tandem Hammer. I apologise, but
No.
yeah, a lot of players as well. Start coaching backroom staff as well, and their heads are on the chopping block. In regards to that fitness coach, I don't really understand the whole concept of that, because I know, like, under Fergie and continuously on, we had like a fella called Tony Strudwick, and he was our fitness coach there, and obviously we done relatively well considering he was under the helm of Fergie. I don't know obviously what happened after the fact, but strength and conditioning, like, I'm assuming that we have someone in strength and conditioning department.
Yeah.
So we ultimately don't know the physics as such. These are professional athletes. Like, I'm sure they're fit, but the problem is what's going on. Like, there was a lot of responses there throughout the press during the week that apparently that Ten Hag literally has players run ragged in training sessions, you know. And then, like, maybe, like, if that's any athlete, are going to bear the brunt of it, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not giving excuses to why we have injuries. There's obviously, clinical terms for this, but at the same time, like, it has to be looked at. Like, absolutely outstanding amount of injuries, but at the same time, other clubs have had them as well. So I'm not going to sit here and say our whole season was ruined by injuries, because you have games like tonight and games like Brentford. That's potentially 6 points going into the lead up to this Liverpool game the weekend that we should have went into, you know, based on the fact that we were ahead in both games in injury time. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's frustrating. Frustrating isn't the word. Frustrating is not the word. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. It's up and down with this team the whole season. The line, like I said on the last show I was on too, that I've been using for now the last few months, is that their most consistent thing is their inconsistency. And today is a game that I think showed every side of it. You know, being able to score and come back, and then do it, and then screwing it all over in the end. And you know what you said about Casemiro is right too. Unfortunately, like, for a while I was somebody who didn't agree, because they're two people who are, like, him and Varane are two people who are at the top of the list I've been hearing for a while, despite their potential quality. Um, Despite their potential quality, they are out also because of their contracts. But a lot of people were talking about Casemiro, and I wasn't seeing it for a while, to be honest. But today, I definitely saw it. Like you said, he was getting run past by that younger midfield, and maybe his legs are gone, even if he still has some of the potential quality, because he did play a couple passes today and stuff like that. Um, I'll be honest with you, Mark. I don't think you want to do it either, so I don't think I'm going to go ahead and try to do anything in regards to a rating. The only person who would probably get a good rating, as we mentioned earlier, would be Garnacho. Um, One thing I will say, in addition to just the players and stuff like that, just to get my thoughts on it, I think damn near every player now, whoever is coming in their position in the summer, every player is not guaranteed a starting spot next year. Next season, I think every position in the starting 11 is going to be up for grabs, and people are going to have to compete in different ways. And I hope that's how it goes. And the last thing I want to bring up, Mark, before we decide to close it off, is Ten Hag. Unfortunately, is what's been popping into my head a little bit. Do you think, regardless at this point, like with LVG, right? He even winning the FA Cup didn't save his job. And as you brought up earlier, we got Liverpool in good form this season. I mean, this weekend. If we get battered, I know they said they're going to wait till the summer, but do you think there is much that Ten Hag can do to save his job in the summer? Even if they're deciding to wait till the summer, do you think they're probably going to cut it anyways and start new?
I'll be honest with you, and like, I know I'd said it previously. I want Ten Hag to succeed at the football club, and everybody does. But again, you show an ignorance towards that concept as well, because I say to myself, I want them to succeed, because I'm sick of the club looking like we just put people's heads on the chopping block once it goes wrong. But like, this man came in with a philosophy, and the squad that he inherited, number one, but number two, put a stamp on it with signings that and stood over signings for a lucrative amount of money, i.e. Anthony. That's where I'm getting frustrated, where I'm like, you know what, like, you know, what is going on here. I don't think Man United are going to sack him before the end of the season for the simple reason we've an FA Cup semi final to play now in less than 2 weeks' time, against a Coventry side that like we should be beaten, but it is Manchester United at the end of the day. So I personally don't think he's going to be sacked this side of the season. But at the same time, like even if you're the most disgruntled Man United fan, okay, if I come on tonight and I said, you know what, I'm sick of this and I want him gone and this and that, which I'm just never going to be the person. But there's Manchester United fans out there who are fickle minded, and they're thinking
I'm sure if we scroll X right now, we'll find at least a handful.
Exactly. But tell me this, like, if you were to go out now tomorrow and ask the majority of a fan base, like, and say, who do you want in? Nobody's going to be able to give you a straight answer and say, oh, well, I want X person in.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, top class managers who you're going to get in, who are going to be, under a guide of Ineos, who do you get in? Like, you don't. Like, if you want to revert back to what we've been told, you're going to have Graham Potter at the helm. It's just like, just give it time. It's not pretty viewing whatsoever, and football is cutthroat, particularly these days with the huge abundance of finances. But like, I just wish they would just give it time and just see where we're at. One more transfer window, whatever structure needs to be brought into the club. Like, it seems to be every time there's a bad patch, another glimpse of like bad news comes out. Oh man, don't have a fitness coach. This and that. Fucking not, so fucking what? We have a strength and conditioning coach, and these people are athletes. A fitness coach for what? Every other club has one. Yeah, so what? I don't. Anyway, again, I'm going out and handling like it said. But yeah, personally, I don't want him to go. I don't want to see the man sacked. I want to see him succeed like everybody else. But like, again, I'm not judge and jury. This is football. It's a cutthroat business. We're not going to make Champions League spots. That's a serious dent in a financial cost to the club. Fact. As well as that, you have players that, like I said, he stood over, the likes of Anthony, who are just not. And don't get me wrong, I thought Anthony had a good game tonight, but that doesn't outweigh the past, 2 seasons of mediocrity. So that's exactly where I'm coming from. And other players that he stood over. And you know what? It's not always that he can handpick them either, but at the same time, he's the one that can push the button on certain transfers, in which he's done so, and they haven't come to fruition. So yeah, look, like I said, I know I keep going on it, but I want him at the club, but I just don't see it being the long term, for the simple reason that the performances are outweighing his tenure, in the sense of we're just not winning games, and we're going, like, let alone winning games the majority of the time this season. Like, we've been battered at home literally so many times, the likes of Bournemouth, and then you have Fulham, just to name two, and then you go into the last 2 games away. It's, look, I can talk all night in regards to the performances that we've had, but the more damning thing for me is it's the performances where you're supposedly and expectedly coming out there with 3 points. Like, so Brentford the other night, come off a very good result against Liverpool. It was nearly like the international break put a dent in us as a team, because like, it's such a high. You go into the international break, then you come back over, and you expect a very good result against Brentford. I was fully expecting us to beat them during the night. Like, let alone 1-0. I watched the worst game that I've seen United perform all year. Like, people can disagree with me and say, oh, sure, we have Bournemouth and all at home and this and that. No, the other night genuinely was a worse performance. So anyway, yeah. So that's my 6 cents and Ten Hag and Man United as a whole. Have you got any good news for me? Seems to be all bad news.
I mean, if I have any good news, that'd be a surprise. There's not too much good news going on. Actually, I'll frame it. Actually, I will. I'll try to frame some good news for you. Nothing legitimate, just fanciful. Because to be honest, that's too much. That's most of what we have right now as Manchester United fans. You brought up the lads. I'm not going to try to say his last name because I am terrible at saying people's name. But Willie coming in at center back. Looks like a quality kid and looks like he's going to grow to get better. Garnacho is continuing to improve. Mano has shown himself to start this season and broken himself into the first team. we have some quality young talent. Now, like we said, and you mentioned already, you never want to put overt amount of pressure. Um, Listen, Trevor, you already came in late. All right, this isn't going to be a long stream, so don't start talking shit. Um, we have some young talents at different parts in our team to build around, and hopefully we can bring quality veterans to help to bring them along as they grow into their best. It looks like, unfortunately, that we're going to have to sit through some other version of a process or rebuild. I did, even though I'm the one who asked the question, I do agree with what you say into regards to giving managers time. I think everybody in football can agree that that's one of the biggest issues in football today. There's some other things in terms of how it's run and stuff like that, but how quickly managers get turned over in comparison to how much time they might have been given in the past. I am going to be an asshole, and I know y'all might not love to hear it, considering a lot of y'all are over on that other part of the world, but and with the American accent. But one of the things that I try to help myself be happy with is also having my other teams. And my Knicks, we got some bad news, but we're going to be in the playoffs. And the Yankees went ahead and started blowing the season out starting the season with some big wins. So I'm going to go ahead and watch some of them as well to try to make myself happy. I do apologize to all our fellow Manchester United fans. We had to sit through another painful game. This, like I said, isn't going to be a long stream. Mark, if you have any last second things you want to add, you can go ahead. Damn,
No,
Trevor, hold up. You thought I was Canadian? What kind of shit? Never mind. Go ahead, Mark.
no, nothing major at all. I suppose, the beneficial thing for me is I'm after getting a ticket for the semi-final, thankfully. So, and then we'd already booked the Sheffield game for a couple of days later, so I'll be making the short trip twice, as per se, London and Manchester. Even though, they absolutely break my heart. It's the only addiction that I have, fortunately. So, yeah, on that note, even if we get battered, I'll still be there because I love them. The bastards.
It's funny. I was going to bring that up earlier too, but you ended up doing it for me. It's right. We're still going to be there. We're still going to watch this game against an informed Liverpool trying to keep their spot for the title this weekend. So
one of our weather fans, we've been dealing like I was born in 1990, and I seen the good times, albeit I was very young. But people say to me, "Oh, sure, you haven't seen it," and I'm dealing with shit since 2013. So, there you go. Like, it's probably a lot. I'll probably touch wood be alive a lot longer, and we'll see us potentially win a Premier League in 2030 odd or something. But anyway, we'd be there, thankfully.
Yeah, that's true. And hey, I'm a Knicks fan. The last time the Knicks won a championship was in the 70s. You weren't born. I weren't born. A hell of a lot of people weren't born. But I still watch them every goddamn season. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it, guys. We didn't have a great game to talk about it once again. And I would like to mention, as Stu always does, that we are in partnership with Manchester Mind. If you want to donate, go ahead. This ticker's been running all show. And just for mental health things, I'm somebody who struggled with my own, so believe me, I understand. It's never weak or ashamed to ask for help. And asking for help is some of the ways that I would still be here right now. So thank you guys for joining us after a game like that. But hey, hopefully by next season, we'll have something to be a little bit more happy about. Have a good rest of y'all's night. I'm going to go try to have a good rest of my night. And I hope everybody, what's today, Thursday, has a good weekend, even though it's not Friday yet. See you, everyone.